We did it.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's so good to talk to you.
You
oh my
too.
God. So you've been doing so many interviews.
Mhm.
I'm going to back up with how you first got on my radar, which was JVN, Jonathan
Oh
Van
my
Ness.
gosh.
Is that even what that stands for? I just think of him as JVN at this point, Jonathan.
No, no, that's right. That's exactly right.
I'm like, David, my husband, David Drury. I was like, oh my gosh, because we're obsessed with conversion therapy and just the lore of how disgusting it is, like, I don't think that would even work, so, and we're both Baptist preachers' kids, right? So, I'm like, David, look at JVN has this, poor person who survived conversion therapy. And he's like, oh, I helped him write the pitch for his book, which is called Conversion Therapy Dropout. And
that's right.
Absolutely everywhere. When did it come out?
May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Did you do that on purpose? That's a
no, but it did mean something
meaningful.
Mexican.
For sure.
Although it's not really a Mexican holiday. Mexicans don't really
I suppose not. Yeah, my coworker is Mexican, and this was pre-pandemic when we would go into the office, but he would just get so angry at all the gringo celebration of like paintings of cans of beans, and he's just like, I'm tearing that down. I'm filing a complaint. Is just I'm so amused by how mad he would get by it, but rightfully so. The two of y'all should get together because he grew up in Mexico and moved here because they in Mexico, like, you can't really hang. So anyway, I was like looking a little bit into your background. I haven't read your entire book yet because it's painful. I just feel so bad that you were forced to do that. I'm so glad the word is getting out there because that's what this does when you talk about it. That's just the whole point. And that's why I have this podcast, because it's janky. I don't really know what I'm doing. I hate looking at myself and hearing myself. I've just felt ever since I turned 50 last year, just honestly, it felt like there's something nudging at me. Like, you need to use whatever platform you have to get people to tell their stories. Yeah. Cause back when I started deconstructing like 20 years ago, like fully really doing it, like there wasn't a big internet thing at all. That I think that, that's the way I found that is the only reason I'm here. So, I know that your book is going to truly save lives. Are you hearing good things back yet? Are people sharing stories?
Yeah, but real quick, yes, one thing I want to say is, like, thank you for the platform you've built and the space that you've created for folks who have been through what we've been through to feel seen and heard and our experiences validated. Like, I know it could be like you're a silly meme person or whatever sometimes, but like, it's so good and it's so needed and it's so valuable. So thank you for creating the space that you do and for all of your support. I see you out there and I'm just so grateful for you. So, I wanted to get that out. But as far as like the response to the book goes, it's been a wild ride because there's folks who have been in conversion therapy who are saying to me, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel my experience is validated. A lot of them have walked away from faith. And so my book is kind of modeling for them through my journey and my experience, how I found my way back to faith. And, there's a lot of folks who are in that journey of trying to figure stuff out. And they tell us not to read our Goodreads reviews, but I like to because I just can't help myself.
How can you not? For real.
Yeah. And there was a lady who was very clear on the outset, like, I believe in a traditional interpretation, blah, 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 like just kind of setting the groundwork for like where she was coming from. And she wrote a lot just about the story, how she resonated with it. And she ended to say that while I hadn't changed her mind on pro-gay theology or anything like that, that she could not deny the fact that it was evident that I had a deep and profound faith in God and relationship with him or them or her or whatever. And I don't know, it was just really cool to see like, hey, it's helping people along the way. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes, like growing up in the Bible Belt, people are forced to be in the closet, and I didn't know anyone who was out until I moved out here to Seattle. And just knowing that, I was like 25, right? Just because it is a matter of life or death for.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So just, I think your experience is just anyone talking about anyone's experience. I mean, you can't help but step into that person's shoes if you have a shred of empathy and be like, oh my God, I honestly did not have this perspective and what it had been like. But I think it's so interesting that you still have faith. And because it's so nuanced, everything. And total respect for people who lost their faith. Like I absolutely get that.
Completely.
And when I first deconstructed, I was willing to completely let it go, all of it. And several things happened that I couldn't deny, that I felt like, okay, might not be so black and white as I want it to be. And I don't like that, because it kind of makes it harder. Like, God, why are you allowing? What is happening?
Seriously.
So it's like holding that tension just your entire life. But from your book, you were talking about being adopted. And were you adopted at birth, or what are your so into an evangelical family?
Correct. Yep.
Yes. Now, which state was this?
Illinois.
Oh, Illinois. So Midwest. Well, I don't know why I assumed Southern, but I'm from Arkansas. So I just think everyone below the Mason-Dixon that's where all the evil is, but clearly not.
Small town Illinois.
What belief system were you raised with? What are your earliest memories?
Yeah, we were Assemblies of God, and so health, wealth, prosperity, speaking in tongues, the whole bit. And church was just, I would say I was like culturally a Christian just because it was all around me. We went to church on Sunday and Wednesday. My dad led a Bible study another day of the week. I went to a Christian school, K through 12. And so it surrounded and enveloped me. But in a way, the charismatic church was actually a really good place for a queer kid to hang out and kind of hide out, because there were elements of it that kind of played into my queerness. So just the emotive response and being, visibly touched by God's presence and all those kinds of things. And they tended to be like rock and roll, and my church had a huge drama program. And there were just a lot of ways that I could let those little parts of myself stand out, but not be questioned, just because the emotive part of me was seen and valued. And that was proof that I was connecting with God.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just so curious, and I can't help but get nosy with people, but I'm like, when did you first realize, oh no, there's something about me that if I'm fully transparent about this, I don't know how that's going to go over.
Yeah. I mean, I never remember having different feelings than the ones that I had. And there's not a moment necessarily where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gay, but there was just many moments along the way that I could tell things were different. But I would say that moment of panic happened when a neighbor kid had a Playboy, and all of the neighborhood kids were looking at it. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. That doesn't really, I don't know. I wasn't having the same reaction as the other kids in the neighborhood were to it. And then I had these Olympic trading cards, for the Summer Olympics or something. And there was one that I had that was of Greg Louganis, the diver, who was also gay. And it was him in a Speedo on a diving board, all ready to go.
That's a formative core memory for me. I was 11.
Right. And so I remember looking at that card and thinking, I think I'm more attracted to what I'm seeing here than what I saw in the pages of Playboy. And that's when I would say the gay panic began in me. But it took me a long time to navigate and figure out what that was. And part of me believed for a while that I would just grow out of it. I thought maybe I had not gone through puberty enough yet, or maybe I would change. I thought I would it would be a phase I would grow out of. or hoped it would be a phase I would grow out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hit? Well, okay. I'm very curious on behalf of people who have been through this. Like, what was the moment of being told you need, son, to go to conversion therapy?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that moment?
So the interesting thing is that moment didn't happen. I self-selected and opted into it. Yeah. So, but there was a cycle of events that happened that got me to that point. As we talked about earlier, I was adopted and I met my biological family and had a relationship with them since the time I was 9 years old. Both sets of parents knew each other before I was born. There were a lot of overlap in friends, and actually my biological uncle was friends with my adopted dad. So he and my cousins would come over to my house when I was little and we'd all hang out, and I had no idea that they were my cousins. That was my uncle. Like, it was really weird. And so it was great to get to meet them, but I never fully felt like I belonged to either family, because in both families, I was the one that was adopted. And church for me was oddly this place that I felt connection, that I felt belonging. And I knew also that what I was feeling inside that I didn't feel safe to talk about out loud was in direct conflict with everything that was told and taught to me about sexuality and what God accepted. And I prayed for a long time. I mean, being charismatic, we went to the Brownsville revival in spring break when I was in junior high. And I thought maybe this will be the place that God can set me free and I'll get prayed for and slain in the spirit and all those things. And I went through all of that and nothing changed. And fast forwarding the tape just a little bit, I moved cross country when I graduated high school from Illinois to Washington State, to a small town about 45 minutes north of Portland, because my youth pastor and his family had moved there. And so I went to follow them, to go work with them at their church. And I wanted to be in ministry. I wanted to have a career in the church. And looking back on it now, I think part of that for me was my desire to hope that maybe I could work my way out of this, that if I dedicated my life to God, all of those things, that God would do the work that I was hoping God would do in my life. That youth pastor came across my internet search history, and that outed me when I was 19. And it was humiliating, but at the same point, a relief, because it was a secret I'd been carrying for so long, and we're only as sick as our secrets. And I was relieved that that was finally out in the open. However, he did not respond well. The church that I was at did not respond well. And they drove me down I-5 to this hotel by the Portland airport and left me there for 5 days by myself. And I was 19. And this is a youth pastor who was a huge mentor, like the first adult that had really ever seen me, that invested in me, that taught me how to do graphic design, which put me on the trajectory for the career that I have today. And to hear him say that I was broken, that there was not a place for people like me in ministry, that I needed to pray for God to fix me, that I needed to get my life right with God, even though I was doing all I could to be right with God, it wasn't enough. And in the midst of all of that, I drove to a Christian bookstore and I picked up a book that had the 101 level understanding of conversion therapy in it. I had no idea what conversion therapy was, but I knew that the book said that there was hope for people like me. And so I read the book cover to cover. And in the back of the book was a phone number to Exodus International, which was the largest conversion therapy organization at the time. And I picked up the phone and said, hey, I need help. I don't want to be the way I am. And they said they could help me. So it was a beginning of what became 8 years in conversion therapy after that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 19. I mean, the abandonment, that's so cruel. You know, you're a child. And did they say we'll be back in 5 days, or was that open-ended? Did they just say, see you maybe?
I was already planning to go home. Like, the internship had ended. So it was at the end of my internship, but they did say lose all contact with all the kids that I had built relationships with in the youth group, to kind of fall off the radar. And I never heard back from them. Like, they left me there. They knew my brother was flying out to drive home with me, and I didn't hear from them. I eventually did years later, but I was by myself in that.
Oh my God. I just want to go back in time and go pick you up. And, that's. And then, bless your heart, you go to try to fix yourself. Like, the only way fawning that's a fawn response, I suppose, to be absolutely. Like, okay, let me fix whatever you say is wrong with me, so you'll accept me again. Yeah. So the self-imposed, it makes perfect sense. 8 years of that. 8 years of, did you go to an official camp? Was this virtual? What did it look like for you to do 8 whole years of freaking conversion therapy?
I did everything that was available short of checking myself into one of their residential programs. Those did exist, and one still does in Portland, where it's like a live-in center. It's like a rehab, but instead of helping you overcome alcoholism or drug addiction, it's homosexuality. But initially, I was a part of online forums just because that was what was accessible to me in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. And then eventually I went to the annual conference that Exodus put on. And then I moved to Chicago when I was 24. And being in Chicago gave me access to in-person support groups and a therapist and those kinds of things. So I did a mix of individual
therapist.
Yeah. Conversion therapy is not therapy, first of all.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a Christian therapist, and I did a lot of therapy. I went to the support groups. I did these conferences, and I was also working in churches. So if anyone was set up to succeed in conversion therapy, it should have been me, because there was not really any part of my life that wasn't either focused on trying to change my sexuality or trying to build the church. And because I worked at a church, I had the moral obligation to live an upstanding, good Christian life. And so there was no wiggle room for me. It was like a golden cage.
Well, when you're working for a church, a lot of the times there's a contract you have to sign that you will not give any appearance of evil or so of course you're like, I need to make some money, so I'm going to bend. Yeah. So you were doing graphic design, social media type stuff for these for mega churches. Initially, is my impression.
Yeah. Initially, it was just my small church in downtown Chicago, but it was a church that was with, rewind the tape. It was a church that had a lot of young adults, and the average age of the church was like 29. And so given that the congregation was so young, we could lean into social media and have our church wrap their arms around it and embrace it a lot earlier than most other churches could. And this was during the advent of social media, and it was really easy to become a personality on social media. So I started writing and blogging about what I was doing and how I was helping our church get online, both with websites and also social media, and made a name for myself within the evangelical space. And soon a lot of these larger churches started calling me and asking me to come consult with them or to work with them as a contractor. I was speaking at Christian leadership conferences. But while I was in conversion therapy, I was still working for a small church in downtown Chicago, but beginning to have a reach into the bigger mega church world.
Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to think of the disconnect that you had to have been experiencing doing this work and, trying to keep your mental health together and feeling like, oh, I'm sinning. I'm a sinner. I'm so broken. This is, it's amazing that people survive. So many times they don't. I mean, it's very violent. Yeah. So I'm so glad that you're speaking out about this. It's going to give a ray of hope to people. Yeah. Oh my word. Okay. I don't know why I have this in my head that you worked for Elevation Church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so David and I got obsessed with Stephen Furtick, the pastor of Elevation Church, kind of around 2007, 2008, whenever Twitter was kind of taking off. And we're like, who's this ass munch? Because I'd already been on this mission to take down Mark Driscoll here in Seattle. And
you're doing God's work.
Succeeded. I mean, he ran. But I mean, it wasn't just me, but I did have a fake Twitter, a fitter. Sorry.
Well, it's X now. What is it called? I don't even know.
It's back when Twitter was normal. I had a parody account for him called Fake Driscoll.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I remember that.
You might, because this was kind of when it was easy to start this shit. And,
yeah.
And like within an hour of me creating at Fake Driscoll, I get an email from Mars Hill Church telling me, and all this legally, I don't know how they got my email. They go, you are allowed to have a fake Twitter or a parody account of a public figure, but you have to make sure that it's clear that it's fake. And I just wrote back, it's called Fake Driscoll. I don't know what else to tell you. So that was my Twitter bio for a long time, was Mars Hill said to make sure you know that this is fake. I told them that it's called at Fake Driscoll. They tried so hard to get that taken down for so long, and that finally happened. And like, I remember it was the day of Joe Biden was elected, the election day. So it took a long time, but anyway, it's gone. I can't get it back. But oh my gosh, it was fun. And boy, they were pissed. And Mark Driscoll did all the stuff, like he David was in a documentary about card counting, like he's a professional blackjack player, and he was on the team with a lot of guys from Mars Hill, which got me interested in like, what the fuck is going on with these people? And all their wives were silent, like sister wives, and they were all, just Mars Hill people. And I'm like, something's not right. And so I just got obsessed, and they were going to screen the documentary when it came out at a church, a Mars Hill campus. And the day of, Mark Driscoll decreed that David Drury was banned from all campuses because he was married to me. And I'm like, yes, put that on my tombstone. And all the guys, the blackjack guys, were so mad at me. And they told David, they're like, you need to control your wife and stuff like that. It was amazing.
No. Okay.
Which my sister-in-law also told him. And that was 10 years ago. We haven't talked to them since, but go on.
Let's say I have a fun connection to Mars Hill. So
what?
As I was doing my consulting and working with churches, I got to know some of the members of the communications and marketing team at Mars Hill. And when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next in my church career, they said, why don't you come and work for us and help us with social media and do social media at Mars Hill? And I obviously had a lot of the same reservations and did not like Mark Driscoll at all, just because he represented toxic masculinity that was shoved down my throat in conversion therapy to say, this is what a man needs to do. And so I had absolutely no interest in taking the role, but part of me thought maybe I should do it, don some flannel, grow out my facial hair, become lumberjack, homosexual, not really, and work incognito at Mars Hill and then write the expose about it from the inside. I thought about it, but I didn't.
Oh, well, but you basically did now with your book.
Yeah.
Is it a bestseller?
No.
It's doing really well, I thought.
It's doing good.
It's gonna get there.
Thank you.
Man, everyone go listen to Tim's interview with JVN, Jonathan Van Ness. It was absolutely incredible because he really got into the nitty gritty with you, and he was horrified.
Yes.
All that stuff that people just don't know about. So crazy. But one of my friends who worked for I wanted to say graphic design team, doing something IT related for Mars Hill around that time, said that Mark Driscoll would walk in and say, "What's up, F slurs?" In 2007. Of course he did,
sounds
right?
About right. Yeah.
And he would have fight clubs where they would literally fight club on men's nights, men's Bible study nights or whatever. And this guy's got
so
pictures
straight.
of it. Their shirts are off. They're wrestling around. So there's just so much going on. It's fun to talk about because they do not want anyone to know about this. So Stephen Furtick, I remember he would come to the Stuff Christian Culture Facebook page to defend himself after we were making fun of what is this guy on? And this was when he was kind of scrawny. I think he's all roided out now, but
totally, completely, absolutely.
You agree?
Yeah. That's not natural.
Because something's going on in his hairline. I think he went to Turkey.
On his sabbatical.
On his sabbatical. So much with that. And I'm thinking of this. We made so much fun of him at this one time. I think this was in 2009 or 2010. So I don't know if you were working for them around this time, but he got so mad that after he'd come in and raged out on the Facebook page for stuff Christian culture likes. Within a couple days, there was some time, a couple days passed so that his team could help him write this kind of ragey slam poetry piece called Hey Haters. Are you familiar with this? Do you have any memory of this?
Yes.
Because we felt that was aimed at us. And it was the greatest moment of our life. He's like, hey, haters, we're tired of how you pick apart every single molecule of God's perfect plan. And it was just so funny. It was like the Henry Rollins liar video. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's, you're just pacing around like all, and I remember one line that David and I still say to each other all the time is, you look like a toddler drawing a line in the sand. So that was his big.
That's how he got you.
Big mic drop. I know. It was a delicious time. You could rage bait those guys so easily. And now.
They were so concerned about their image. They were so concerned about what people were saying about them on social media. And my background with them, I didn't work with them until 2013. So Elevation had kind of grown at that point. But I quit conversion therapy and thought my career in churches was going to be over, because who's going to hire a gay guy to work with them? But what I found out was I had a skill set that a lot of churches needed. I was really good at social media. I was good at pumping things up. I was good at helping pastors understand how to navigate the digital landscape. And I found that a lot of those churches were willing to hire me as a contractor or hire me as a consultant, because then I wasn't signing any doctrinal statement or morality clauses or anything like that. And I was clear with most of those churches up front, like what they were getting with me, like the package deal that was coming if I was coming to work with them. And most of them did not care. They were
amazing.
They would lean in and say, well, we know that you're good at what you do. We know you're the person for the job. Maybe don't talk about your work with our church, or maybe don't post about it on social media or put it on LinkedIn or whatever. So they were willing to have me work with them, but they would fall short of fully affirming queer people. And
exactly,
with a lot of these churches and Elevation in particular, they saw what was happening with social media and the rise of the influencer and the rise of all these lifestyle brands, and saw opportunity and saw this chance to say, hey, I can reach so many more people through the internet than I ever could that could come to a church campus on a weekend. And so this is a way for us to spread the good news. This is a way for us to spread our reach. And there was already the multi-site campus model where churches were simulcasting their services to multiple locations. But social media really gave all of these pastors a reach that was significantly larger than their own congregations. And so they became very obsessed with their numbers and their metrics, both for their personal accounts as well as the church accounts. And when I first started in ministry and was working at my home church in Peoria, Illinois, we would gauge success. Like our metric that we would always care about was salvation. How many people got saved. How many people were baptized? It was those kinds of numbers that were always the focus. And like attendance mattered too, but it was more about the work.
Winning souls.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, to say that word out loud, that phrase. But what was interesting is as I started to work with all of these churches, it was how many more followers did we get? How many downloads? How many people watched our sermon? How many people are buying our resources? And so my initial engagement with Elevation was to promote Stephen's book, Crash the Chatterbox. And I was like, in the church, I got to be careful. The church,
do you though? It's a safe space here.
I know that's true.
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, the church bought his way onto the bestseller list because there were services.
Mark Driscoll, same thing. They bought all of his real marriage books with tithes.
Right. Yeah.
With tithes. So rude. So I didn't know that Stephen Furtick did that too.
They all do. All of the, and there was like a season of time in like the 2010s where there was a company that did this for every mega church pastor, every Christian leader you could imagine. And they were really smart about it. They would say, hey, package it. If your church is doing a conference, just put it as part of the registration fee. And if you have 10,000 people come to your conference, that's 10,000 sales. And so Elevation bought their way onto the bestsellers list for that. And what was so interesting was I met Furtick once. I was flown into Charlotte to meet with his team to sketch out how we were going to get this book out to the world through social media and digital marketing, and never once got to like be in the room with him, but just with the people that worked around him. But one night we were at dinner and he and his wife, Holly, walked into the same restaurant. And I think it was staged or planned that way. That would be the quick drive-by hello. And I'm sure you've heard this, but Elevation has this tradition where, first of all, they never call him Stephen or Steve. It's Pastor or Pastor Stephen. And then whenever he comes into a room, you all stand as a sign of honor, as a sign of like, hey, you're God's anointed.
You are our great leader.
Yeah.
It's very North Korean.
Yeah. So and I guess like that is what you do. That's like the polite thing to do. If you're at dinner and you see someone like, oh, everybody gets up to say hello. They all get up to say hi. And he makes the beeline for me. And he's like, you're Tim. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're going to help me get a bestseller, right? And I was like, yeah, that's why I'm here. That's the goal. And he's like, well, just for that, I'm going to buy you dinner. And that was it. And
literally the least he could do.
Yeah. Like the least. So the book comes out and we put together this like huge online event that was like a radio call-in show. So it was Stephen Furtick and Lisa TerKeurst. And then it was this long list of Christian A-list celebrities that called into the radio show the day of the release and were talking with them. It was really fun. I was never allowed in the room, never allowed to talk to them. So I would just like watch through the window like, hi. But the crazy thing was we all had to get there really early in the morning because the radio show was going to start at 9 a.m. I think we had like a 6 a.m. call time to get there. And they were setting up the studio space. Some of the staff members were working out in the gym because they had a CrossFit gym there. I don't know if they still do, but this like announcement came out over the loudspeaker to say, hey, everybody, it's a big day. Pastor's book is releasing and we'd like everyone to go outside to welcome him and celebrate this launch, whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? And literally all of this, everybody that was in the building goes outside and makes like a little spirit tunnel, like, you know, like, woo, like in the parking lot. And this like Escalade that's driving Furtick comes to the center. He lowers the window, waves, like I could not, it was really weird.
He's freshly spray tanned and all oiled up and yeah.
Yeah. So the book became a bestseller. I would like to think because of all the work that I did, but they did buy their way onto it. And then I did such a good job with that project. They gave me the reins of Elevation Worship, which was just beginning to kind of take off. And so I was the first full-time person that was managing Elevation Worship social media for about 2 years before they took it in-house.
I wonder if you're the one who had to block me, because they blocked me very early on. It makes me so sad because I just want to see what they're up to.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just kidding.
but all of that to say, like, they were all so obsessed with their image, what people were saying, what was the conversation, how many people were using the hashtag. It was all about the reach and the influence. And of course, it was masked in this for the kingdom, for the greater good, getting the good news out to as many people as possible. But we were grilled for views, downloads, purchases, those kinds of things. And yes, people connecting with those things does mean that they are engaging in their faith, but there was no redemptive end to any of it. It was just all about getting more numbers and more people to sign up and download.
Yeah. No, I mean, it just makes me think that this is why Jesus turned the tables over.
Yes.
Like, you have turned my Father's house into a den of thieves. You assholes.
Yeah.
Whip you with prayer tassels.
Seriously.
Oh man. Okay. I'm just so curious about what your faith journey was during this time, because obviously something was resonating for you spiritually.
Yeah.
And how was that? How did, I love hearing this part of people's journeys where you're kind of like figuring things out. The wheels are starting to turn.
Yeah.
Like you're probably at this point starting to realize that the conversion therapy is not, there's something, you're starting to kind of realize a few things and face reality. If we're going to be using recovery language, there's kind of just like, oh my goodness, is this actually realistic for me?
Yeah. So I was a good trooper. I was a good soldier. I was in church. I was doing everything that was prescribed to us in conversion therapy. And after 8 years, the change had not happened. And we were so ingrained to believe that it worked, that it was possible, that change could happen. And I believed God could change me. I believed God could do anything. So when it came down to it, I was really wrestling because I knew I was doing all of the things that I should have been doing. I loved God with my whole heart. I was working in churches. I was helping churches expand their reach. I was doing all of these things, hoping that in the midst of doing all this work, that God would do the work that I was hoping God would do in my life. And I reached this point, and it was actually Mark Driscoll was preaching at, I think, the Catalyst conference, and I was doing social media for it. And he went on a tirade about gay marriage and men need to be like men and not sissies, and just all of that garbage that he would say pointed at people like me. And I'm having to live tweet this for Catalyst, and seeing this arena of Christian leaders, the next generation of Christian leaders, because that's who Catalyst was targeting, stand and applaud for that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? And I came home from that and a run of speaking at church conferences and realized I was not going to change, and knew that this was not going to go away, that there was some reason this was not working. And I really initially interpreted it as divine rejection. Like, there is something so fatally wrong with me. There is something so fatally broken with me that even after I've done all of these things, that I still am struggling. I still catch myself checking out a hot guy. I'm still wrestling with looking at porn online. Like, what is wrong with me? And I had to come to this point of saying, it's either something wrong with me or it's something wrong with the program. And I never thought to question conversion therapy, just because it was so ingrained in us to believe that it was the only way. It was the only way that we could love and serve God and have hope to not go to hell. And so I did have a nervous breakdown, and I could not get out of bed. And it was one of those moments where it's like, I would rather end my life than keep living it the way that I'm living it. And I knew then I had to just figure out what life could look like. And I had known a lot of people through conversion therapy who, many of them left faith altogether after they dropped out. And there were more that were starting to integrate their faith and sexuality. And one of those friends told me about QCF, Q Christian Fellowship. It's an organization that puts on an annual conference for queer Christians. And mind you, this is 6 months after I had left my final Exodus conference. And my friend said, you need to go with me to this one. And I'm like, I can't. I've done conferences. I don't want to do this. No. But he paid my way and we went. And it was the first time I was challenged with the idea that maybe I had been reading the Bible wrong all along. And maybe there was another way to look at all of these clobber passages that were weaponized against people like me. And maybe God's love was a lot bigger than the small boxes that I was taught it was contained in. And I realized too, being there, that God's lack of an answer to my prayers for all of those years was his answer. There was nothing about me that needed to change. I needed to change how I was viewing God and reading scripture. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time I ever prayed out loud, "Thank you, God, for making me gay." And conversion therapy is so sneaky and it's so harmful. Insidious because the damage it does is long term. And it's not like when I finally decided, okay, I'm done, and walked out of my therapist's office, that I was magically better and my best gay self. Like, it was years of unlearning shame and years of reprogramming and all of those things. And I was doing all of that while I was working for Elevation Church, Hillsong, Willow Creek, Joel Osteen, like you name the Christian leaders. I was doing work with them.
Tim.
It was crazy.
Oh my God. I didn't know about all those.
It was wild. I say this, Jonathan Merritt's a really good friend of mine. He's a Christian, writer, editor. He's, does phenomenal work. He's always called me the Christian Wizard of Oz. He's like, if people knew who you were behind, like,
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
I was like, I was the person behind the people. And so many of those churches were so accommodating and so kind and gave me space and gave me a paycheck. And I needed money. I needed a job. I needed a career, and they needed someone to do what I could do. And so I was willing to exist in these spaces that were kind of gray and not affirming of me. But I hoped that my presence in them could help shift things for people like me. I thought maybe I could help them and challenge them to look at the contributions that queer people can make in churches. And maybe this can be the thing that's going to help them move towards affirmation and inclusion. And I had a lot of really great conversations with a lot of the pastors of those churches or people in leadership in those churches. And again, I found a lot of acceptance for me and what I could do for them, but it always fell short of actually saying, like, you're good, we love you, we accept you. And that's how churches worked back then. They weren't necessarily outspokenly saying anything about gay rights or gay marriage or openly condemning homosexuality from the pulpit, especially these big mega churches, because they knew it was at stake. These pastors are hanging out with celebrities. They have celebrities coming to their churches. They know that if they cross certain boundaries and a celebrity hears, oh, they don't like gay people, oh, they don't do that, they don't do gay marriage, like, they're not going to go there. And the church is going to lose this influence that they think they're gaining by having all these celebrities sit in their pews. So they chose silence. And honestly, that silence is complicit. That does just as much damage as people who are outright saying that we're all going to hell. And so I started to have to wrestle with that, to say, I need these churches to speak up. I need them to say something. And the breaking point for me was the Pulse Orlando shooting that happened in 2016, because every queer person felt the weight of that in a very visceral way, because in a lot of ways, a shooting at a gay bar would be the equivalent of a shooting in a church for queer people, because those are sacred spaces for us, and those are safe places, and those are places where we can be ourselves and where we connect with one another. So all of us felt that. And I have a full roster of these church clients at that time. And whenever there was a major catastrophe or world something happening, breaking news thing, we had a protocol. Like, if anything bad happens, stop posting on social media. Use this language to write your thoughts and prayers post. And here's some suggested things you should say. Here's some graphics you could use. So that morning, I'm absorbing the news and feeling all of those feelings, and at the same time having to ship off suggested posts for these churches to share. And all of them followed the first part of my advice and not posting their usual content, but none of them posted anything to acknowledge what happened. And that for me was this moment of the wool coming off of my eyes and me realizing I cannot stay here any longer. If they cannot affirm and validate and acknowledge the pain that my community, that I'm feeling right now, if they're going to stay silent about that, they're going to stay silent about everything else that matters to us. And this was June 2016, and we knew what was coming with the election season. And a lot of these churches were fine with me working with them as long as I wasn't outspoken on social media about my gayness and not have rainbows everywhere. And I realized I cannot stay silent either. I need to be able to speak up for my community and talk about the fact that I am a gay man who loves Jesus and is trying to figure it out. And if these churches want to censor that, then I can't do that because I have to speak out. And that was when I decided I needed to do something different.
What was the next step that you took?
I left church work. And it was time. I knew I needed to do something different. I had no idea how my skill set would transfer anywhere outside of the church. But
I mean, to me, it sounds like pretty well, because it's such a marketable thing that you could do.
Right. And I thought I was completely underselling myself. But then when I actually stepped back and said, oh no, I managed accounts that had 20 million followers, that I could help make a New York Times bestseller, that I was working with these worship bands that had Billboard chart topping albums coming out. All of that would translate outside of the church. And it took me a while, but I graduated into the big leagues and I work in tech today, which is kind of funny. And I like to joke that God is in the cloud and so is tech. So it kind of works out that was the transition for me. But I didn't leave it all behind without a parting gift to the church. And in 2018, I was part of the team that founded Church Clarity, which is a website that helps LGBTQ people navigate towards safe churches that are affirming and clear in what they say about their beliefs or doctrine that impact LGBTQ people.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you hear back from many people about the positive contributions you've made? You must. Yeah.
And what's interesting is all of these churches that I used to work for have in different ways had a reckoning, or the pastor is no longer there. There's been some scandal, and all of that for me was, I wasn't necessarily of course I followed and watched it, and it's like a train wreck. You can't look away. But I wasn't grateful for that. I wasn't delighting in it because I worked side by side with the people that were behind those people. And I knew that this was these people's spiritual community. This was their home. This was their thing. And they're grieving this. And yes, accountability was important. And yes, all of those things needed to happen. But it also caused a crisis in faith for a lot of the people that worked in these churches and worked under those leaders.
Yeah, major.
Yeah. And so I found so many of them as I became more outspoken about my faith and sexuality and how I felt God was leading me. I just found nothing but so many of them sliding into my DMs being we're so proud of you. Keep going. This is incredible. We are in your corner. Let us know how we can help you. A lot of them came around and have continued to, which has been really, really exciting. And I don't know, makes me feel that time that I felt was maybe wasted was redeemed in the end.
Yes. I feel the older I get, the more I feel like nothing was ever really wasted. I see things kind of come full circle eventually, and that's really encouraging. But also, a spiritual crisis is often how they say your rock bottom is when you can finally wake up, and can actually be a gift. Although
absolutely.
You would want to save someone from going through. I mean, it's the most painful thing ever, but I guess that's what it takes to wake up sometimes. Oh my word. How was your family with all of this? Where are they?
It's been a journey. It's been interesting because I had two coming outs. I had the first where it was, I'm in conversion therapy. I don't want to be like this. And that was difficult for them, but it was also, they could stomach it because I was already in conversion therapy, trying to be the best version of myself at the time. And when I didn't work and when I needed to be honest about, hey, I still love God, but I still got this going on, that was really difficult for both of them. And for my adoptive parents, it was this idea that they did something wrong, that there was something that they missed, that it was some fault of theirs that I turned out this way. And my biological family is on the side of the fence that says it was because I was adopted out and I wasn't around my brother and my dad. And like, so it's like, oh my gosh. My siblings have all been super supportive though, which has been incredible. And I've just been on the journey with my parents. And while I was still working in churches, I would say that helped my parents out a little bit, because even though they knew I was gay, even though they knew I was living in Boys Town, Chicago's gay neighborhood, I was still working in churches. And so that gave them this like sense of stability. But when I left church work altogether, I could tell it changed the dynamic of our relationship and the dynamic of our conversations. And I've kind of, with them, just not talked about it much. Like it's the elephant in the room. We don't talk about it. Like when I talk to them, I hear about the weather, their neighbors, all those kinds of things. And I talk to them about how crazy New York is, but we don't really get too deep. But when the book started to become a thing and when I started to be on media and on the news and all those kinds of things, I knew we needed to talk about that because, it's interesting. There's so much in my book that they don't know just because we haven't had those conversations. We haven't talked about those things. And I also had to reckon with the fact that if I had written a book about, hey, I used to be gay and I'm not, or if I was on the news or in Time magazine for conversion therapy and saying it works, they would be celebrating it. That book would be on the coffee table. The magazine would be like my magazine article would be on the refrigerator. And I had to reckon with the fact that this is a really big moment for me to share my story and they're not celebrating it. Yeah. And that was tough. And one of the things I said I would never do was a book event in my hometown, just because it didn't feel safe for me. And also I think I was afraid that my parents wouldn't show up or that I'd have to face that. And I did an event in Chicago, which is like 2 hours away. So I thought, well, the people that really love me will drive the distance to go. Yeah. But in the midst of all of this, my adopted mom reached out to me and told me she got a copy of my book and that she was reading it, but she was reading it slowly because it was really hard for her to read all of these things that she didn't know. And
well, imagine how hard it was for Tim.
I know, right?
Let's think about that.
Sorry, Mom. This is reality. But I ended up planning a trip to go home, which I usually don't go home at all. But I planned a trip at the end of July, and something in me just knowing that my mom had the book on her nightstand made me feel safe that I could do an event at my hometown, Barnes and Noble. Oh. And so I did. And my mom showed up to it. And it was really cool. It was very meaningful. It was very healing. A lot of my cousins and other family that live in my hometown showed up. My brother and his wife were there. And not all of my parents were there. Not all of my family was there. But I hope that this will continue to be a journey for us of understanding and acceptance. And everything that I've done around the book and the book tour, I'm so blown away and moved by the people that show up and the support that I've had. And I'm really grateful that my mom got to see that in my hometown, and all the people from high school kids to kids I was in youth group with, to parents of kids that I grew up with, to leaders of gay affirming churches in the community, and all my friends that are gay that live there showing up. And I'm really glad she got to see that and got to see the impact that I hope I'm making in doing all of this.
Yeah, you are giving her a glimpse into something she would never otherwise see. And that's what it takes for the people who have the little seed of empathy and the capacity you're giving them a gift, a great expense to yourself, but it's also, you're honoring yourself by telling the truth. I mean, it's very brave.
Thank you.
And it makes me very emotional. I get what I call Pisces face, where I'm like, I'm like, no, I need to like get it together here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So how can we support you? Like in general, like what,
so sweet.
What feels good and safe for you?
I mean, buy a book, but also share about it. And I think honestly, the reason I wrote it was because conversion therapy is still happening. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of folks assume that it's a thing of the past. Exodus shut down in 2013. It's not happening anymore. But the Supreme Court in the last few months has rolled back on the conversion therapy ban in Colorado, which is going to have a domino effect in all these other states. And one thing that I don't think people understand is that a conversion therapy ban does not mean that conversion therapy is not happening in a state that has one.
It's just under different names.
Correct. Yes. Yes. And any church, any religious group still has a free pass to do those things if anyone is willingly seeking it out. And so the bans only protect queer youth from experiencing it in therapeutic settings. So it's continued to thrive in churches. Celebrate Recovery is a place that it is embedded that people don't realize. And so if there are folks that are out there to say, what can we do to help or how can we support you? I think primarily it is don't go to churches that are not LGBTQ affirming and don't tithe or give money to them. And if a church is not speaking out against these things and not speaking up for the queer community, get out of there. Like, don't support churches or organizations that are not doing what they can to support queer people. And secondly, show up at the polls. Like, we love having you at our gay bars. We love having you at our pride parades. We love the likes on social media, but meaningful change happens when we are showing up to the poll and voting for issues that matter. And so I think a lot of Christian people, like I hate the Christian nationalism of right now. And this idea that if we say it's okay for people to have children or get married or change their gender identity to fit what suits them, that's an attack on biblical truth. It's not. And
Jesus never said
a
thing about it. How does this live? So viscerally for so many people.
And even if you don't agree with it, even if you're not whatever, like affirming of queer people or these issues, like you have to see that it's a human issue. This impacts people's lives. And Jesus said that we were to love our neighbors, and our neighbors are queer people. And so if you're actively voting against them, you're not loving them well. And even if you don't agree with it, even if you're still figuring things out, your vote matters, because that's the world we live in today. And so those are like the two things I would always tell folks, like, don't go to those churches, don't give them money, and show up at the polls, do what matters. And if you really want a gold star, buy my book and share it with other people.
Yes.
Because I think stories are what change people's lives, and people's lived experience is what can speak to so much more than data points can. And there's over 1,300 practitioners that are doing conversion therapy right now in the United States. And LGBTQ youth are subjected to it more than you can imagine. The Trevor Project tracks a lot of trends with LGBTQ youth. And they found in the last year, the number of youth that were subjected to or threatened with conversion therapy doubled from 11 to 22%. And so it's not necessarily, a lot of these groups don't call themselves conversion therapy.
Never. They would never call them. Yeah.
No, because they know it doesn't work. The biggest is the Changed Movement, which is out of Bethel Church in Redding, California. And then it trickles down. Like, all of these churches have these networks and they have these ideas, and they're all learning from one another and copying one another. And so these big churches, these mega churches, have this influence that goes downstream to all these churches that are looking to them and want to be like them. And so when these bigger churches are having folks come out and say, I used to be gay and I'm not anymore, or I changed my gender identity to suit what I knew was true of me, but God convicted me and I've detransitioned, like, all of the elevation of those stories is causing harm. And one of the things that I've realized is when I started in conversion therapy, it was 2001. The internet was new. Social media did not exist for a while, many, like, decades, but I had to go seek that stuff out. I had to go to the Christian bookstore to buy the book. Yes, I did an online support group, but there was nothing else online. If I wanted to hear people's stories, I had to go to a conference or I had to go to some retreat, where today it's everywhere on social media and it's so accessible. And these groups and organizations are so media savvy and they're so good at tugging at people's heartstrings. And so that is why I feel like we have to be so outspoken about our stories and our experiences, and just to be mindful of where it's happening all around us.
Well, I look at the suicide rates for children, and that's a right to life issue. That's a pro-life issue.
Yep.
It's absolutely devastating. So if nothing else, y'all look at that like, do you care about that? I don't know if Christians care about that, truly. And it all feeds in. I could just talk to you forever about whatever your spiritual experiences have been, but yeah. Okay, I have little cheesy lightning round questions to wrap it up at the end. Okay.
Let's do it.
I have a theory that everyone has a specific relationship with Taco Bell, whether they think it's evil and they never go there and disgusting, or they, what are your feelings on Taco Bell? And do you have a Taco Bell order?
Yeah. I mean, Taco Bell and I have a very abusive relationship. I'm sober now. I've been sober for 5 years, but when I was not, Taco Bell was my jam at like 2:00 in the morning. And I was definitely like a cheesy gordita crunch guy with some taco supremes, like the best.
Yes. Oh, that absolutely went hand in hand with the 2 a.m. drive-through when you're driving, like every single time. What is your coffee order?
Iced Americano.
Same. Oh,
that's the best. Smoother than iced coffee, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's not going to be watered down.
Exactly.
Where are you on cold brew?
I don't like it.
Too strong?
It's too strong. You never know how they make it. I don't know. I like an Americano. I like the concentrated espresso.
More consistent.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at your screen time when they send you the annoying reports? Or do you feel like it's none of your business?
I look.
You look at it?
I look, but it's just, that's my job. That's my life. And I do that professionally for my day job. And then at night, I need to be online trying to sell some books and engaging with people. So to me, it's almost a sign of productivity. But
totally. You have a positive relationship. You have an excuse, right?
Yeah.
This is a hard one for a lot of people, but what is your favorite movie of all time?
Clue.
Do you know who just agreed to be on my podcast? Jane Weedland.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
She was the tap dancer in Clue, the little singing doorbell.
Wait, is she churchy?
No, but she has a memoir coming out about her bad experiences with Catholicism when she was a child.
That is crazy.
She was in the Go-Go's. Some people my age don't know that, so I just have to say it there.
That is incredible. Oh, it's my favorite movie. I loved it as a child. I love that you said
the Clue. Me too. Every sleepover.
As a kid, I'm like, mom and dad, like watching it now as an adult, which I do often. I'm like, what were they thinking letting me watch this as like a little 4-year-old? But
you know what movie we watched along with that at every sleepover that we should not have been watching was Watcher in the Woods, because it was a Disney movie, and it's still maybe the most terrifying thing I've ever seen next to The Exorcist, which I will not see again. No. Betty Davis, and Kyle Richards from The Real Housewives was in it.
Yes. I
freaking love that movie. Okay. Do you have a favorite album?
Okay. Like the one that started it all for me was Hillsong Shout to the Lord. Like just for my churchy life, my church career. Yes. Because I couldn't listen to secular music. So Darlene Check was my diva. Like I couldn't listen to Madonna, Britney, or Whitney.
Right.
I had Darlene. So that was like that was the CD I listened to on repeat as a teenager. I would say today I am Beyonce Lemonade is my favorite. I could listen to that all day long.
I mean, that makes sense because look at the lemonade you've made out of all these lemons. You know?
Sweet. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Beatles song?
Yes. So this is a funny story and it's related to conversion therapy. So imagine you're at Exodus conference with like 1,000 other people who are struggling with same-sex attraction, and just like the pent
opening of a movie,
right? The pent up sexual frustration and just all of that. And then the worship band opens the conference singing the Beatles song "Come Together."
No. Did someone know what they were doing with that? What?
Come together right now over me.
Over me.
Literally happened at an Exodus conference. And all of us who were like under the age of, I don't know, like we're in hysterics over all of it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me think someone was like, wink, wink, we'll be playing this right over some people's heads, but the people who deserve to get it will. Okay, last question. Is there a specific movie that makes you laugh equally hard no matter how many times you watch it?
Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
I could watch that. I watched it a couple of times during the holidays, but even didn't one of those channels play it 24/7 or something? I could watch it like all the time.
Holiday Road. I associate that with that's the summer vacation, but it sounds so Christmassy to me because Christmas Vacation is my very favorite.
So good.
David and I often say, bend over and I'll show you.
The best.
It just applies to so many situations.
So good. So quotable. The whole movie.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing. And I'm just so grateful that we got to chat.
You're the best. If you're ever in Seattle, can we please get coffee or something?
Please. Absolutely. We will.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Okay. Love you.
You too. Bye.